We will now study the second part of the Lost Spring. I want to drive a car. In this chapter, Anise Jung expresses her concern over the exploitation of children in hazardous jobs like bangle making and rag picking. Grinding poverty and thoughtless traditions result in the loss of childhood, innocence, education, and play. The result is backbreaking hard work, dismal working conditions, and acceptance of poverty and exploitation as destiny. There is an absolute need to provide the poverty stricken people, particularly children, a life of dignity and opportunities to dream and do. In this chapter, we are going to study about another character of Mukesh. We can sharply contrast the character of Mukesh with that of Sahib-e-Alam, where at the start we saw Sahib-e-Alam as a rag picker who was free to do whatever he wanted. But towards the end of the story, we saw him working in the tea stall. In contrast to him, now we see Mukesh working as a bangle maker. But he dreams to drive a car, he dreams to become a motor mechanic and would go to any extent to fulfill his dream. The life of Mukesh at Firozabad was no better. He lived with his elder brother who was also a bangle maker. He wanted to drive a car and wanted to become a motor mechanic. And he wanted to break the shackles of his age-old tradition. But the people thought that it was their karma or the result of their karma of the previous birth that they were born into the caste of bangle makers. They were destined to become bangle makers. Their forefathers were bangle makers. Their father or the present generation was a bangle maker, and the coming generation would also follow the same tradition. Thousands of children are engaged in bangle making, and many of them lost their eyesight before becoming adults. They live under unhygienic conditions, do not have proper light. They live in stinky places. Their life contrasts with the beautiful bangles that they make. The story is the same in every family. Mukesh took the writer to his house, where the writer came to know that his grandfather had become blind working in the factory. Similarly, in another family, the author came to know how the husband was happy that at least he had been able to give a roof to his family members. But the wife complained that throughout her life, she was not able to have one square meal a day. 100 years of slavery had killed the initiative of people to think of a better life. They did not know what to do. Nobody was there to guide them. They were uneducated, illiterate. They were exploited by the middlemen, the lawmakers, and the policemen. They carried on their miserable life as they did not have the courage to rebel against tradition. They did not have money enough to start their own kind of enterprise. If someone dared to start a new line, they were police, middlemen, sahukars, and politicians to persecute them. These people did not allow them to take any other vocation. So at the end of these two stories, we come to know that justice after all is the right of the rich and the powerful, not the helpless people like Mukesh or Sahib-e-Alam, who was far from desirable. It should not be allowed to continue, but some people must bell the cat. The writer was happy when he came to know that some young men like Mukesh were ready to take the plunge, rebel against the age-old tradition, and start a new life. So the theme of the story is to create awareness about child labor and what ordinary people can do to abolish it. If everybody would go on saying Who will do it? How can I do it? They will not be able to achieve their target. We want people to know that employing children is a punishable offense. We can start by stopping a neighbor or even ourselves from employing children. We can start by finding the child a school. Given the ambiguity in various laws governing child rights and welfare, the RTE is still now mostly on paper. It would really take years to put that law into practice.